The Dread Hand, a seemingly harmless, if not a bit off-putting, tool that you acquire pretty early on in Prodigal that allows you to be transported to the entrance of any given room. But have you ever wondered how it actually works? And if not, are you really that surprised that there's deep lore to even some of the basic mechanics in this game? Alright, I'm not going to beat around the bush this time, it's the Hand of Veritus, the Shadow God. So we can assume it's some sort of shadowy power that he has which allows us to travel via other shadows or something like that. A quick backstory recap for those who haven't seen the amazing Veritus trailer on the Colorgrave YouTube channel. There was a big war between all the gods, with Nixian, the god of hate, being our big bad guy. Nixian cursed a mortal named Torrent to be reborn over and over again for all eternity, thus creating an effectively immortal enemy because he's very clever. Anyway, bad guys all go down, including Nixian, and only Veritus remains. The way that he's defeated is Torrent cuts him up into pieces and scatters them all over the world to prevent him from rising to power again. Now in the present day with Orin, he stumbles across a not very well guarded piece of the Shadow God, which is probably fine. Just kidding, everyone who knows anything about this is immediately suspicious of whether Orin's actions are of his own agency anymore. Even Shadow Orin explicitly warns him don't trust the hand, which is weird, because isn't this guy supposed to be the manifestation of Orin's inner demons or something? And even he's like, okay dude, for real, don't mess with that shit. You know, if this shadow guy really is some part of Orin, you could even see this as him trying to regain control of himself in some way. Because there is then the big question, how much is Orin in control of what happens in the rest of the story? It certainly seems like he's in control, but you know, we're dealing with the God of Shadows here, you'd expect his methods to be somewhat surreptitious. I mean, the big thing that pulls this question into focus is the second piece of Veritus that you collect, an eye. Why did Orin feel the need to do this? Even before facing Shadow Orin, he's warned about the hand multiple times, and he still went and did it. What, just so he could get into Demon's Dive? He didn't know that shit was there, he just saw a locked door and went to any means necessary to find out what was behind it. Oh my god, Orin's a lore junkie. He just like me for real. But it's just weird, because it seems like the main story of Prodigal is about Orin's self-improvement and a journey of maturity and accepting responsibility for his past actions, but then he's just like, fuck that, I'm gonna release an ancient evil upon the world, lol. I mean, huh? Personally, I think Orin is absolutely being influenced by the Hand of Veritus, probably very heavily. And there is another thing that suggests this will continue. One of the fortune banners in the VIP room. It is by your hand the shadow will gather once again. In hope of rescue, you will bring defeat. Now, does this mean that Orin will be trying to rescue someone or something in the future? Or maybe it means that Orin will get so deep into this darkness that he will want rescuing, and in being rescued, he will bring defeat to some other cause. The defeat could also refer to himself being defeated by Veritus and being taken over entirely. There's a lot of possibilities, it's pretty vague, but that's something we can hopefully look forward to finding out in the Veritus project later on. So, there's one more thing we need to address, a pretty important detail you might have overlooked, although I have mentioned it already. The pieces of Veritus were scattered across the world to prevent him from reforming. So how is it that two of the pieces were in the same town? Now, one piece was very well guarded, but the other, it was almost too easy to find, like it was planned somehow. Who comes to mind when we think of long-term plotting in Van's Point? There's a reason he was my first video. It's Prodigal. Isn't it strange that everything seemed to work out just right for him? And in fact, not just for him, the whole plot is awfully convenient. Orin's parents mysteriously die so that Orin comes back to Van's Point just in time to help a servant of Veritus rise to power. I mean, sure, he also defeats him right after, but in the process he just so happens to stumble across a really easy to find piece of the Shadow God. Look, maybe I'm looking too deeply into this. At the end of the day, Prodigal is a game first, right? There's gotta be certain liberties taken to move things along. I mean, how would Prodigal even know about Orin? He says he's heard oh so much about him, but the guy's been gone for 10 years. There's probably the occasional mention of him by folks who knew him back in the day, but I don't see how that's helpful. The only way Prodigal could even know about who Orin is now in order to orchestrate this scenario would be if someone he'd met on his travels arrived in Van's Point before he did. Like his ex-girlfriend, for example. Aura, Orin's ex-girlfriend, who looks Ladamran by the way, note the pointed ears, is a trusted or at least contracted companion of Prodigal's. I'm back in full conspiracy mode. I think Prodigal already had the Dread Hand from somewhere else, and then he came to Van's Point for the eye, but it was too well guarded. But then Aura comes along. Whether or not they were already in cahoots when she met Orin is pretty inconsequential. Either way, she tells Prodigal all about this guy she's been dating in the south. So Prodigal arranges for the guy's parents to be killed while out on a guiding job, thus luring Orin back to Van's Point. Then he nestles the hand away so that Orin finds it by himself, and he also eventually encourages him to do all these other things so that he can get stronger and stronger. Then, when he believes Orin to be strong enough, he gives him the key to the castle basement, which of course he already had all this time, waiting for the right moment so that Orin can defeat the Guardian and release the eye. Now, You might think this is a bit of a problem for old Crocky Boy. He doesn't have the eye, and he doesn't even have the other piece of Veritus that he used to have. But he has something better. He has a contract with the guy who has both pieces. He basically has all their power at his disposal, but with none of the corruption that seems to come with it. I'm usually pretty held back when it comes to making theories in videos like this. I'll try to list as many of the possibilities as I can to cover all my bases, but no, this time I'm going all in. I firmly believe this is what happened. Crocodile orchestrated everything, and he hasn't stopped. Let's look at some of the in-progress art for the Veritus project posted on Lulupar's Twitter. Well, would you look at that? Half of these characters are known confidants of Crocodile, and for all we know, the rest are too. Remember that other Crocodile theory video? Toss it in the trash, who cares? Crocodile might be a god, he might be a human, he might be an actual crocodile with a really high charisma stat, doesn't matter. What Crocodile definitely is the puppet master. He's pulling all the strings, not only on everything I've mentioned so far, but he's also got ties with Revulon, he's got ties with Colorgrave, he even sent Aura to Ladamra to keep tabs on something there, don't know what that's about, but he's pulling the strings there too. As for why Crocodile wants to bring back Veritus so badly, look, I don't know, man. I don't have all the answers. What do you think this is, some kind of lore channel? Speaking of Veritus, remember when this video used to be about him? And speaking of Ladamra too, there's also this fortune matter to consider. By work of dreaded hand, all light will be stolen. The thief will be crowned. Which thief? We're talking about this thief or this thief? Auron and Crocodile are both thieves. And in fact, with the way this is worded, Veritus could be the thief here. Does this mean Veritus ultimately wins? And while we're picking everything else apart here, crowns sure do seem to come up a lot in the Colorverse lore, don't they? What's that about? You know what? Maybe further speculation is best left for when we have more information. But, like, what if Crocodile is Veritus?